those workouts for nothing. At least you could use my body first.
Eddie, I failed you. For those of you following my Fire Emblem live streams, you'll be aware of the fact that in the last live stream we had a very interesting event take place. This event, in a way, I feel like divided the community a little bit, and I found myself leaning more towards the minority of people as to how I should handle this particular event. And I was actually inspired to do this video when that happened because I figured that this would be an interesting topic to talk about. I am recording this in my car because I'm waiting for my son to get out of tutoring, so I figured I would use this time to record the video because time is something that I haven't had a whole lot of recently. And I feel like the audio insulation of the car actually makes for pretty decent audio. So let me know in the comment section how you feel about that. But I wanted to tackle what happened in the last stream. So we're going to be talking about the death of characters in Fire Emblem. Now, when I started doing my live stream, I asked people like which difficulty they felt like I should play on and which mode I should play on. Now, for those of you that don't know a whole lot about Fire Emblem, the difficulty is self-explanatory. You know, things get more punishing if you go on a harder difficulty and whatnot. People ask me to play on hard, and there's an additional difficulty setting, which is maddening, which I can't even begin to imagine what that experience would be like for a newcomer like me, right? But there's two modes that you can play Fire Emblem in. One mode is casual, and what that does is whenever one of your units dies in battle, basically in the next battle, they're back and they're cool and you can use them again. However, there's another mode, which is Classic. Now, Classic mode, what happens is when a unit dies in combat, they're gone. You can't use them in combat anymore. Now, I've been told that certain units, they get to like stick around. They just take more of a background role so that because they're still relevant for the story and whatnot. So technically speaking, they don't really die. They're just kind of like defeated in the field of battle. And then I'm assuming, and then they go back to the back lines or whatever and support you in different ways. Without actually having any gameplay implication, because I think that once a unit dies, it's like, that's it. You can't use them in gameplay anymore. But there are other units that when they die, they just straight up actually die. They're gone. They're deleted from the game to the point where after this event took place, which I will tell you which character died and where it died. I don't think it's a huge spoiler or anything like that. But when this happened, I went back to the Somniel and I was like, oh wow, they just straight up deleted her from like the story of the game. There's only like one reference in your ally reference book, but like if you go to the character sheet, she's not there anymore. If you go to, if you try to find her in Somniel, I don't think she was there either. So it was something that I was like, oh wow, they really just killed off this character. And it caused a lot of conflict in me in terms of like what I could do about this. So let me tell you about the map that I was playing before we go any further into this. Again, not spoilers. This is one of the DLC maps because when Nintendo sent me the game, they sent me a code for Fire Emblem Engage with the code for the season pass as well. So that includes DLC where you can go get stuff from, I think, previous Fire Emblem games, because at least the first thing that I got from that DLC was a ring that has the characters of 3 houses. And then the next portion of the DLC, which by the way, it was decided by chat that was going to be the next map that I was going to make. I made a poll and I asked people, hey, should I do the next story bit or should I go and do the first DLC map? And people voted for me to do the first DLC map, which is Divine Paralogs. And it is the map for gaining access to Tiki, which is apparently a major Fire Emblem character. I don't know because I'm a complete newcomer. Keep that in mind. So I was doing the Tiki map, and for starters, this is an extremely long map. You're talking like, we spent like 4 hours of the live stream in this map, which again, I feel like a large portion of why that happens is still because of my relative inexperience as a Fire Emblem player. And so again, for those of you that are not aware how Fire Emblem works, at least Fire Emblem Engage, they give you this crystal that allows you to rewind your turn. So whenever a character dies in an action, you can basically rewind time and save that character. But the crystal has a limited number of uses, which is 10 uses, right? Now, I remember talking to a friend of mine who has played Fire Emblem games. He usually shows up on the streams, Mr. Tummy Giggles. And I was talking to him about, classic mode and characters dying, and he was explaining to me that the reason for classic mode is not necessarily to suffer the losses of characters. It is more so to prevent you from suiciding characters onto, in the battlefield to achieve a tactical advantage, which is something that you can definitely do in casual mode. And I'm not criticizing people who play in casual or play in classic. Like, look, play however it is fun for you. Like, that's just the way that it is for me. I'm not trying to throw shade or literally anything like that. I'm just trying to interpret the way in which I play the game and how I handle some of the consequences that took place, right? And so when I started seeing that, I'm running low on uses of the crystal, I saved the game, because you can basically save the game at any point in time during a battle. So I saved the game, right? And then I continued onwards, and I continued to use the crystal until eventually I ran out of uses in the crystal, and we were at the very last moment of the battle where, I'm charging in to kill the final boss, which was Tiki in that map, right? I'm charging in to get her, and I'm doing all of this strategizing as to how I'm going to enter the room. I'm placing all of my units strategically to deal with what is going to happen. And everything in my calculations was 100% correct, with the exception that I still don't have a proper understanding of the speed stat. As in, I don't know at which point speed causes a certain unit to attack twice. So to me, I'm always like operating under the assumption that I'm going to place a unit here, and this unit is going to be attacked once. So I would give my units enough HP to survive one attack, but none of my units would have survived 2 attacks from this other unit that I was planning on fighting against, right? So I place all of my units in strategic positions where it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to open this door, this unit does this, kills this thing or deals enough damage, this other unit does that and finishes off this other unit, opens up the path, and then I can take my big hitting unit all the way up to the boss and beat the crap out of it, and I have this other unit that's going to teleport in, cast a massive spell, do all of these things. I have all of this thing planned out, right? I have everything planned out as to how I'm going to tackle every single element of what is going to happen once the combat begins. Everything except my understanding of the speed stat. So I put my characters in position, do everything, open the door, and what happens? The enemy instantly attacks one of my units twice and kills it. The unit in question, for those of you that weren't watching, was Etier, the archer. So I was actually happy that the thing attacked the archer, because I was like, oh great, because she gets to attack back and it's going to deal damage. It's going to make it even easier for me to, implement my strategy. It'll be perfect. This is awesome. And then the creature attacked again, and I was like, no! And Etier died. And I didn't have any uses left in the crystal. And so chat was saying, oh, just finish the fight and then you can come back and you can save her because you have the save file. So that way it's not going to be, it's not going to be boring for you to just like go back and redo a bunch of turns and all of that stuff. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I can just save her off camera. It's not really a big deal. It's whatever. So, I continue onwards and I finish the fight. But when I finished the fight, I was like, but she died. In a way, she died. And it's like, it was a different feeling, because it felt like her death was very meaningful, because her death in a way allowed me to finish the map. And not only that, but she was a complete hero in that map. Now, there was a strategy that I was using with her where she was basically baiting enemies that were coming in and slaughtering the most dangerous enemy type that would show up repeatedly. Like, she was an absolute hero in that map, and I'm pretty sure she would have gotten MVP if she would have stayed alive. I don't know if you can get MVP if your unit is dead. But when the whole thing finished, it made me question, do I want to go back and save her? Now, I do. Obviously I do, because I like the unit, and I just like the character, and I want to save as many characters as possible, because that's just like your instinct as a gamer, right? A game gives you characters. You don't want those characters to die. Except Boucheron. Boucheron could die, and I wouldn't miss him, not even for a second. If this was Boucheron, I'd be like, yep, he died a hero, he's gone forever, we're never going to see him again, it's too bad. But in the case of Etier, I actually liked her character quite a bit. I think she's an interesting character. And I was talking again to Mr. Tummy Giggles, and he was telling me, well, there are other powerful units that you'll get. You have this other archer who's like the prince of whatever. And I was just like, I don't care about her from a power standpoint. I care about the character. right? I don't care how powerful the character is, I care about the character itself, if that makes sense. And it really caused me to question how you should handle death of a character in Fire Emblem. Like, should you retry a map? Should you reload a save? And again, every player is going to have a different approach to this particular thing that happens in the game. And I just got reminded of something that happened to me in Mass Effect, which was in Mass Effect 2, I made a wrong choice at the end because I still wasn't too experienced as to how Mass Effect worked, and I was thinking of characters logically as opposed to thinking of characters purely based around the relationship level that I had achieved. So for those of you that don't know, there's a couple of characters that you get in Mass Effect. I'm not going to spoil things for you. One of those characters is supposed to be the most powerful psionic in existence, which is like a special class that you have in Mass Effect, which allows them to use psychic powers and whatever, and telekinesis, and all these crazy things. And, when it came time to generate a shield, I was like, well, I'm going to get the character that's like the most powerful psionic character, despite the fact that that character didn't like me very much. The character didn't like me because I didn't swing her way in some decision that happened throughout the game. So my thought process there was like, I'm just going to get the most powerful character, which canonically, from what the game has told me so far, she is the most powerful character, therefore she would be the most adequate person to do this. And my decision, because of the relationship status that I had with this character who didn't like me, what ended up happening is a major character from Mass Effect died in Mass Effect 2 for me, and that character was Garrus. And, I took that to heart, as in like, oh wow, he died. It is what it is. And I know that he could have survived, but he died. In my playthrough, Garrus died. And so when Mass Effect 3 came out, I played the entirety of the game without having access to Garrus, because Garrus died in Mass Effect 2, and I imported my save and I continued onwards. And that made that journey a lot more meaningful for me in Mass Effect. Like that was my story of Mass Effect. Like, hey, Garrus died. I made a mistake. He died. I never forgot about that. And I kind of feel like Etienne dying in that Fire Emblem mission is kind of like my Garrus moment, where it's like, hey, I made a mistake. Etienne died. She's dead. I'm still considering whether or not I should go back to save her, and the stream, for those of you curious, voted 70-something% of the people watching voted that I should go back and save her. But people also made a very good argument, the minority made a very good argument. It's like, well, she did die. Like now, it's going to be more memorable that way, and I agree. As someone who had that experience in Mass Effect, I was like, yeah, it was way more memorable. And I think that in a way I almost owe it to Etienne. It's like, yep, she died. I can't go back in time. I can't change it. The crystal was depleted. I made a tactical mistake. And I'll always remember that I need to learn about the speed stat, which I still haven't learned, to know when an enemy is going to be able to attack me twice. But I'm very interesting to hear from you guys. I've already heard from a lot of people during stream. But let me know what you think about that particular situation in the comment section of this video. And yeah, thank you for watching my ramblings upon the death of Fire Emblem characters. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out. Is she choosing?
What the?
That's fine. Oh, this is even better!
Unbelievable. All those workouts for nothing. At least you could use my body for a shield.